Hello and welcome to Tangerine, the show that we introduce every week by saying hello and welcome. Uh, more, s- more,
Well, just like any other one.
more emulation today, specifically Switch emulation. Also,
Yeah.
the first game I actually emulated, and I think
Oh, is
one
it?
that actually, yeah. So, if you've seen the Metroid video that'll come out before this one, you will see that I talk about how I got a bunch of games, got them set up with the emulator, and then I was like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and play them all. And Mario Odyssey, Metroid Dread, and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands were the ones where I was like, I'm just going to test this for a few more hours. And, I couldn't put them down. And Kirby
Yeah.
was like my number one game where I was like, I have to play this more. This is like the one I'm the most interested. It's so fun. And I think with
It
like
looks great as well.
in regards to emulation, Kirby and the Forgotten Land absolutely fucking shines through emulation. So I was playing it on Yuzu, and it's the first ever like open 3D Kirby platformer, which
Yeah.
is really interesting to see because I think HAL Laboratories, the guys who do Kirby games, have always had like really good like platforming chops. I mean, I think the only Kirby game that I've played has been Kirby's Dream Land on the, I want to say NES, but I played the Game Boy Color version. Every time I'm talking about like, oh yeah, I played the original NES game, just know that I was too young for that, so I'm just playing the exact
Yeah.
same game, but the Game Boy port of it.
Yeah. We were young. I mean, I don't know I for one did not know that they were like originally on an older console. I just thought that it's for the handheld.
Super Mario Brothers Deluxe,
Yeah.
1995. That's what I had on my Game Boy, and it was just
Yeah.
Mario. It was just
Yeah.
World 101, ready to go. Yeah. This game is sick, and I was saying like how emulation shines. So on the Switch, this runs at like kind of it targets 30 FPS, and it kind of hits that, but it's not a locked 30, and it actually drops into the 20s a lot of the time. Dude, running this at like 1440p, 60 FPS through community mods, through the Yuzu mod downloader. Holy shit, does this game shine! And I think
better than Switch.
I'm going to be honest with you now, Tony. This is one of my. I played this at the start of the year, and I was like, "Oh, I think I found it." You know when you every year, because I play a lot of games. Like last year,
Yeah.
I play a game and I go, "Oh, this is my front runner for game of the year," and
Yep.
I immediately played Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and I went, "Oh, I may have found my game of the year already." This game is fucking phenomenal. It has such a great blend of platforming, combat, accessibility, charm. It's like challenging at some points, but it's never like insurmountable. And it's like it's very simple on the surface, but there's actually a lot of depth into it, which I think just ends up making it just an amazing game.
Yeah.
And there's so much
Like
free.
easy to pick up than like
Yeah.
a lot of mastery to it.
Yeah, there's these thing called like Forgo challenges. They're essentially like these amazing little mini games that you can play, and they like timer modes on them are like really challenging if you want to. I went for the 100. I immediately went for the 100% from this because I played it and I was like, okay, I have to 100% this game. But the way the levels works, you go through them and you unlock the ability to save Waddle Dees, Waddle Dees nuts, and then
Every time.
as you go through the level, there's hidden objectives, and as you go through, more hidden objectives will become revealed to you. So you can either like accidentally find them, like you saw earlier. I found a wanted poster that was like, "Oh, you need to destroy these wanted posters of Kirby," and then if you destroy all those, you'll get an extra Waddle Dee. And then there's also other stuff, like I killed that boss with a ice ability, which is something I'd knocked around.
You actually had to do that as like a hidden objective.
That was one of the hidden challenges. That's one of the
Right.
replayability things of Kirby and the Forgotten
You just did
Land.
it straight away.
Yeah, I didn't know, but a lot of the time you will be just going back and replaying the levels, and the levels are like really cool as well. So you're probably going to want to as well. They're all okay. So one thing I found, so I emulated this on my PC. I also emulated it on my Steam Deck to see how it would run. I think you can get locked 30 pretty easily. So you can get above Switch performance on a handheld form. But
Yeah.
I was showing it to my friend Andy when I was around his house, and I had it plugged into the TV, and he was like, "Oh, does this game have a 2-player mode?" And I was like, "Oh, maybe it does." So we tried the 2-player mode, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land has some of the Big Brother, Little Brother co-op energy, where the Big Brother plays as Kirby, and the Little Brother gets to watch the player one players Kirby, which it's not as bad as like the 2-player co-op mode in like Mario Galaxy, for example. I remember playing that with my dad, and he played as the second player, and the second player essentially got to fire star bits from the Wiimote, just point it at the screen and fire star bits. That's what the player 2 did in Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like when you want to hand the controller to your little brother who doesn't really know how to play games, that's the sort of co-op mode it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it's important to collect these Waddle Dees because you need them to unlock. I think you need them to unlock because I played at the start of this year, so I'm trying to remember watching the footage. I think you need them to unlock the next level. Like you need a certain amount of Waddle Dees or to unlock blueprints. There's a bunch. So all the abilities you get, they turn Kirby into like a really cool character, and then you can upgrade them at the blacksmith as well over time, and then they become like completely different abilities as well on top, which is like really cool to see.
Do you have like an inventory these just to like go in the world and like pick them up by eating them still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and let's talk about mouthful mode. The mouthful mode is when you okay. So I don't know if you ever seen Car Kirby.
Yes.
Yeah, Car Kirby is fucking amazing as it sounds.
This is fantastic. Look at this.
There's even
Kirby is great as a character, by the way.
Yeah. There's entire like those challenges I was talking about, the Forgo treasures. There's entire sections that are just car Kirby sections where you just have to drive around, and it's great. All of pretty much like everything in this game is really well designed. Can I talk about the soundtrack as well? I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land is one of my favorite soundtracks of the year I've played so far. I think they did a phenomenal job. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds. I think like Mario, like I think it fits the levels perfectly. But they put a lot of effort into the sounds and the music. And
there's just so many like talented developers over at that Nintendo company that are not making PC games.
Yeah, is that a hidden rock
hidden save the hidden Waddle Dees.
Yeah,
there it is. But yeah, oh man, there's so much. So I think one of the challenges, like late games, you have to like beat bosses without taking a hit and stuff like that.
Oh
like,
yeah, so you do that. But yeah.
And there's like interesting strategies to do it. Like there's a time bomb power up that I was using sometime where you essentially use it, you freeze time, and then you deal like tons of damage. And you can just try and burst the enemy down, but then sometimes that won't work. So you like, well, if I take the ranger ability, maybe I can attack him from range instead, or the bomb ability and throw bombs at him, and I was just upgrading different weapons, using different strategies. There's so many different like small little strategies that add up to like a really cool immersive experience for Kirby, where, you just get really into like crafting builds to do random challenges, but on the surface you can just play as like a simple 3D platformer. I love Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and it is one of my favorite games that I've played in 2023. It came out in 2022, Tony, but I did not play it, which is a shame.
It's a 2023 PC game, I think.
There it is. Dude. I feel
I really like the look of this. I've been like seeing it come out and stuff. So
we're gonna be talking about two very colorful games. I've not seen this on an OLED. I don't know if I told you, I have a Switch downstairs, and man, the Switch OLED looks good. Holy!
Yeah. OLEDs are good. Color accuracy and dynamic.
I was looking
at difference between light levels.
Mario and Rabbids on the OLED, and I was like, oh, this game really pops.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah, especially Nintendo color design. Yeah,
my sister has a Switch OLED, and she had it. I had it's insane to see the difference between a Steam Deck and a Switch when you have both of them in your hands.
Yep.
I've run out of footage. But
Restart.
I had the two next to the hands, and I had the brightness turned up on the Steam Deck, and my sister was like, "Oh, is that an OLED?" And I'm like, "No, it's just an LCD panel. Like, it's not bad." But yeah.
Oh no, yeah, LCD's come a long way since the old days. It's just that OLED is like almost perfect for like.
I always said like my next monitor upgrade will be an OLED because OLED is so good. And then I was buying a TV for my bedroom, and I looked at the prices of OLEDs versus non-OLEDs, and I said, "Fuck that shit! I'm not getting an OLED TV." It's like literally, I was like, I'm just gonna watch YouTube on it before I go to bed, and I'm like, I can get a 4K 60 panel for like 200 quid. If I want to get an OLED, it's like £800. It's insane, like the difference in price.
And the other problem is like we're waiting for smaller panels. Make it cheaper, smaller panels for like game. Can
you believe the fucking PS Vita was the first like handheld OLED device?
I didn't realize that. I thought that was crazy. It's like, okay, they went no.
I think it was one of the first OLED devices in general.
I think so, yeah.
It's nuts. Because people, I saw a video recently about the PSP, and they were like, it was so ahead of its time in a lot of ways. It's also, the PSP is like one of the best selling consoles of all time.
Yeah, it's high up there.
And then people were saying like, the PSP Vita, it was an OLED panel. It was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. But you don't know these things until you go back and you play these older games and look at these older consoles and just look at this sort of stuff. But yeah, I feel like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, like, there's so many great Nintendo games. I feel like this game got overlooked. But I feel like from having played it at a stable 60 at higher resolution, even compared to like playing a masterpiece like Super Mario Odyssey, this game is still like a 5 out of 5 like masterpiece sort of game. It is fucking amazing. I have had so much fun with this game, and I cannot highly recommend it enough. So yeah, if you ever have the opportunity to check out Kirby and the Forgotten Land, it's amazing. Definitely check this game out.
Yeah, I mean, it's already on my radar. I think glowing review.
Let's talk about another incredibly colorful, good-looking game. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. You know how I was talking about before with Metroid? I said I never played a Metroid game before, so I decided to play Metroid Dread, and I loved it. I never played a Legend of Zelda game before.
Okay.
There wasn't that many Zelda. I don't think there was a Zelda game on the Game Boy. I could be wrong. So I never played it there.
I don't remember one, but yeah, I'm not sure.
There was Skyward Sword on the Wii, so I never played that. That wasn't like the best received Zelda game.
There was one on the 3DS, right?
Yeah, I didn't have a 3DS.
Like a remake or like a re-release.
But I was like, okay, so I know like this year everyone's like Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild is the least interested I am in Zelda, like in terms of from a gameplay perspective. Well, I don't know from you. From playing this, I love classic Zelda puzzle design. It is so well thought out and engaging, and I've seen so many people saying like, yeah, Breath of the Wild is a cool open world game, but we really just want some of those classic Zelda puzzle sequences that you're sort of missing, and this has that in droves. Like, you have those just long thought out puzzles with interesting solutions, and I was never like, I don't think I had to Google a single puzzle. There was some where I was like, I have to spend like 45 minutes, an hour trying to figure it out, and you know how awful I am at puzzles. But yeah, I was never like, oh, I just cannot progress.
Yeah, you feel like you could still solve it, you just need to give it some more thought or come at it from a different angle.
Yeah. So, when I was like, I'm going to check out a Legend of Zelda game, I wanted to check out a 2D Zelda game, like the classic Zelda games. So I chose The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, but I specifically because it had the more modern Switch version. So I could have some of those quality of life features while also... again, with Metroid Dread, it's a 2.5D game, so it is technically 3D, but it's from that top-down perspective, which I don't know how... I understand some
isometric
people
per se,
don't
but
like
yeah.
depth of field, but this game made me into like a depth. I remember seeing the trailer and like the gameplay footage for this, and I was like, "Oh, I get depth of field now." When I saw like
Yeah.
the gameplay, I was like, "I get why it's so important to make things like look like miniatures, and
Yeah.
it just adds like such an immersive effect
I think
to the actual presentation that looks awesome."
yeah. To me, it's kind of I think more so than Bloom, but it's kind of like Bloom, where it's like it can be done wrong, but has a place if done correctly. I think yeah, for miniature stuff, you need to have depth of field done correctly. I think for
Yeah.
like a 3D like over the shoulder stuff, I can understand people just hating it.
Yeah.
But even there, like I kind of like it to some extent.
So I've
But
played,
it's a
I've played a couple of
choice.
remasters because I played the Crash Insane trilogy without the
Oh,
nostalgia. It did
Yep.
not hold up for me. I played the Spyro Reignite trilogy without the nostalgia. It held up amazingly well without the nostalgia. Metroid Prime didn't hold up that well without nostalgia, in my opinion. And Link's Awakening holds up very well without the nostalgia factor. As someone who's never played the original of those games. So yeah.
It's interesting because so this game is this like a remake of an older game, or is this
Yeah.
a new game in the old thing?
No, this is a remake of Link's
Okay.
Awakening, which was a 2D Zelda game, which came out on the NES, I believe.
I don't suppose you know how close, like, is like the world like almost exactly the same, or did they reshuffle stuff around?
Oh, actually, this game came out on the Game Boy. This was the first. Okay, I was saying I don't remember there being a Game Boy game for The Legend of Zelda. This is actually the first one. I just completely missed this one. I know it's been released on like a lot of devices now because it came out on the Game Boy, and then it came out on the Game Boy Color. I think the 3DS got a version, and then we got the excellent Switch remaster. But yeah, what were you asking?
I think do you know if this map is almost exactly as like the original, or have they changed stuff around?
I think it's fairly similar to the first game. And this was the first Zelda game to be from a overhead perspective because they wanted to allow Zelda to jump. Oh, sorry. They wanted to allow Link to jump. There's no Zelda in this game. I should just point that out. It's called The Legend of Zelda and there's no Zelda. So there is a woman called Marin, which you meet on an island. I mean, I can get into spoilers about the story if you really want to know more about that, but it's not.
It sounds like it's a very old story.
It's also like a pretty obvious story. Like as soon as you get into Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, you're kind of like, I get what's happening here. Like almost immediately. But yeah, yeah. If this is what classic Zelda games are like, I love them. They're great. It is such a like I get what people like about it because a lot of times I'll play a game and it's like people are like, oh, it has like Metroid elements, it has Zelda elements, Zelda puzzle design. I'm like, oh, maybe I should try playing those games. And I'm like, I get it now. I fucking love Metroid. I fucking love Zelda. Like I'm a Zelda enjoyer.
You tried the games that like components of other games people refer to, and it's like okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something to point out. You can actually jump in this game, and that's something you unlock as you play. Like, you start this game without a sword, without a shield, and you just have to explore the world. And every time you get a new ability or a new like weapon or something, it's like, oh, the map's just massively opened up, and I can go here. Yeah. That's one thing to point out quickly, Tony. I'm fairly sure there was no chain chomps in the original game.
Okay, that's a stylistic change.
That's like adding the Mario characters. From a story perspective, it kind of makes sense, I will say.
Yeah, because it's not meant to be entirely logical.
Well, do you want to go over? You want to go over spoilers for The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening?
I was gonna say, you can technically lose your shield, right? Because you were going into the shop. Yes. Why can you buy a shield and then eventually there's an enemy that
eats your shield, and you either have to kill it or if you die, you have to buy another shield. But
that's great.
You never can run out of rupees because you can always farm them from grass. So you always have your sword. So you always have the ability to get your shield back.
Do enemies drop rupees?
Yeah, enemies drop hearts, rupees, grass drops rupees. You can farm as much rupees as you need in this game. Also, there's this... I don't know if this was in the original game, but there's a phone. Anytime you get lost in this game, you ring the phone and it'll give you a clue on where to go.
He is very cryptic, though.
Yeah, he is very cryptic. Also,
Like
I don't know...
just pointing the direction you think.
There's a couple of mini games in this game where I'm like, okay, one of them I know immediately was definitely not in the original game, which is there's a 2.5D platforming sections where you stomp on Goombas. That was definitely not in the original Link's Awakening. I'm looking it up now. Apparently there was a chain chomp in the original Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening.
I mean, there's been chain chomps existing for a while, right?
Yeah. But if I just go into the story quickly, I don't know if you want to put a spoiler tag.
Yeah, you want to spoil? Okay.
Sure, you can put a spoiler tag. It's called Link Awakening because you're in a dream. Whoa!
And
so
everyone's fate.
It kind of makes sense that all this fucking weird shit is happening, like having giant chain chomps attached to buildings inside Zelda.
Yeah. I mean, is it that? Yeah, considering the name of the game, is it that surprising?
No, I mean you literally start. There's like an animation of Link at sea, and he like falls into the water and passes out, and then you wake up on the beach.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the start of Link's Awakening. So immediately you're like, oh, I've been shipwrecked here. What's going on?
Yeah.
But the way you complete the game is you basically have to find instruments. Okay, so I think this is one of the coolest things. Like, there's a giant egg on the top of the mountain, and you can see it, and you're like, what the fuck is going on with this egg? And then as you do dungeons, you unlock instruments, and then once you unlock all the instruments, you can play them, which awakens the egg. I guess that's another reason it's called Link's Awakening, because you have to wake up the giant chicken, and then you fight it in this big boss fight. The boss fights are really cool in this game as well. I think those must have been slightly tweaked from the original. Again, I don't know. I haven't played the original, but this game fucking rocks. This game is amazing. I think this is like a 5 out of 5 game. I'm trying to think of any flaws this game has. I can't think of any. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's
like minor annoyances with like some of the design of it, like getting around in the middle of what I saw, but I don't think it's a real complaint. It's might just like a personal annoyance from a watcher's point of view.
I think did I 100% this game? I think I just...
Did you get all like... Because it's like you have to go and get stuff and bring them back to pedestals. Did you do that?
I think I did pedestal stuff, but then there was like... There's a custom dungeon maker that I could not for the life of me figure out how to do.
Oh, yeah!
And there's a thing where you can like farm new tiles for the custom dungeon thing, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I'm going to play something else. Like, I want to play... I wanted to play more of this game, but I didn't want to play more of the weird custom dungeon things, if you get what I'm saying. Like, if there was more story content or like just more like easy accessible gameplay, I would be like, yeah, sign me up. That's fucking awesome. I'll play more of that. But I think for me, I can't lift those grasses because I need a strength upgrade. That's something you'll be doing a lot in like Zelda games. There's so much. If you've played a game before, you'll be like, oh, that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How much they pioneered back in the day.
I was so confused how to get the sword, because you start with a shield, and there's these giant like spikes in the way. And I was like, how do I get past these? And I was streaming it to a friend who'd only played the original, and he was like, have you tried pushing them with your shield? And I was like, oh, wait, that's how I solved like the first puzzle of the game, is to actually...
That's a cool mechanic.
Push past the guys with my shield so I can actually get the sword. Fuck this monkey.
It makes sense.
Fuck this monkey.
You get him in the end. You get an ability to kill him.
There's
spoiler section, spoilers.
Well, yeah, you basically charge into him and knock him down, but...
yeah.
There's this whole giant fetch quest throughout the entire game that is completely
Oh, yeah.
optional.
Yeah, like you're basically trading up to like getting like so you trade them and they want
Someone's like,
something
I
else
need a
instead.
banana. And then you go, wait, wasn't there a banana over here? I can go, I
Yeah.
want you to deliver this letter. Oh, okay, I can go and do
And
that.
they give all they give you a reward is like you don't want it, and it's like it's someone else wants it. Like oh, this person wants it, and then they give you a new.
But it's completely
reward. It's like, yeah,
optional,
it's
but
really
it gives
cool.
you a really cool reward where you get the optional weapon of the boomerang, which is a pretty cool weapon.
Oh, that was optional, was it? Okay.
Yeah, the boomerang is completely optional, but it's a very useful ranged weapon for when you run out of
Yeah.
like arrows and bombs. One thing I noticed, one of the most like downloaded mods for this game on the emulator is unlimited rupees, unlimited bombs, and unlimited arrows. I never ran into an issue of running out of bombs and arrows. So like I can say from like a gameplay design point, I think it's very well balanced. But it seems like other people were like, nah, I can't be bothered with that, or they just genuinely just kept running out of those
Maybe the
things.
way they played when they had to keep going back to shops or something, and they had to grind. I don't know. I don't know. I have to see how they played, but I could almost see it making sense. But yeah, I'm watching you play it. I don't see why you would need to. It seems fair.
And you know what's the toughest thing now about playing all these amazing games that I've never played before?
Playing the worst games?
That, but now I have to go through them and say which one's the best for the game of the year.
Okay.
And I
you
think
play them the same year, that's the problem.
Yeah. I played them all, and I think my games of the year that came out in this year will all be games that actually came out in different years because they only released in this year or something like that. We'll see. Because currently, the list of games I've played this year are Diablo 4, Sons of the Forest.
Oh, okay.
And
Hades?
Hades? I didn't play Hades
You
this
played
year.
it this year or last year?
I played Hades last year, and it came
Okay.
out many years before last year.
Yeah.
I'm talking about games I
like
played this year that came out this year.
Okay, right.
That's about it.
Is that it? Is it?
I played Metroid Prime Remastered, which came out this year, but it's a game from the 2000s.
Yeah, but it came out this year. Remaster came out this year.
So we'll see. I played Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but that came out in 2021. It just released on
the
PC
came out
this
this year. That counts. I think okay. I feel like if you had played it on the PS5, that wouldn't have counted. I feel like it's perfectly fair to say it came out this year for you.
Yeah. Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. I played this game and I'm like, oh yeah, it must have came out last year. It came out in 2019. I was like, what?
Yeah,
this feels like a fresh modern game.
Well, I mean, 2019 is that long ago.
Yeah, but
really.
I feel like it came out yesterday. This game, but it didn't.
Yeah,
and
fair
time's a cruel mistress.
Right.
Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening and Kirby and the Forgotten Land. 2 amazing games. Please check them out. I love them immensely. And we'll see you next time on Tangerine. Goodbye.
Bye.